Imagine letting the world's deadliest snakes bite you. On purpose. Over 200 times. Now imagine surviving every single one. Sounds impossible, right? But there's a man in Wisconsin who actually did it. His name is Tim Friede, and his blood might just save millions of lives. This is the shocking true story of the man who became his own experiment and revolutionized snake bite treatment forever. Stay with us, and make sure to subscribe for more unbelievable stories. Tim Friede wasn't always a daredevil scientist. He was just an ordinary guy, a truck mechanic from Wisconsin with a lifelong passion for snakes. As a kid, he was first bitten by a harmless garter snake when he was just 5 years old, and instead of being scared, he was fascinated. By the time he reached his 30s, Tim had built up an impressive collection of venomous snakes at his home. We're talking about cobras, mambas, taipans, some of the most lethal serpents on the planet. And here's the problem. Tim knew that with over 60 dangerous snakes in his collection, an accidental bite was inevitable. Traditional antivenom is expensive, incredibly expensive. We're talking $2,500 per vial, and you often need dozens of vials to survive a serious bite. Plus, different snakes require different antivenoms, and many aren't even available in the United States. Tim looked at his collection and did the math. If a black mamba bit him, would the right antivenom even be nearby in time? So in 2000, Tim made a decision that would change his life forever. After taking a venom extraction class, he started injecting himself with tiny, diluted amounts of snake venom. His reasoning was simple but radical. If horses can build immunity to create antivenom, why can't I become the horse? Tim later recalled. And so began one of the most extreme self-experiments in modern medical history. But nothing could have prepared Tim for what happened on September 12, 2001. It was a date that would test everything he'd been working toward, and nearly cost him his life. That night, Tim allowed an Egyptian cobra to bite him. The pain was immediate and intense. It always burns, Tim would later say, and it's always painful. It's kind of like a bee sting, but way worse, because venomous snakes can produce 400 to 500 milligrams of venom compared to a bee's 1 or 2 milligrams. But here's where it gets truly terrifying. Just 1 hour later, while still dealing with the effects of the first bite, Tim let a second snake bite him, a monocled cobra. 2 highly venomous cobra bites in a single hour. His body couldn't handle it. Tim flatlined. He had to be airlifted to the hospital, and doctors fought desperately to keep him alive. For 4 days, Tim lay in a coma in the ICU, hovering between life and death. His family gathered around, not knowing if he'd ever wake up. When he finally regained consciousness, most people would have quit. They would have sold their snakes, moved on, and never looked back. But Tim Friede isn't most people. Instead, he saw this near-death experience as proof that his method was working. I almost died, he admitted later, but I didn't, and that meant something. That close call didn't stop him. If anything, it made him more determined to perfect his immunity and prove that his radical idea could actually work. Over the next 18 years, Tim's life became a carefully controlled experiment. He injected himself with snake venom 856 times, systematically, methodically increasing the doses. He documented everything, building immunity not just to 1 or 2 species, but to a whole arsenal of deadly snakes. Black mambas became his specialty. These African serpents are legendary for their speed and lethal neurotoxic venom that can kill a human in just 60 minutes. Tim allowed mambas to bite him over 100 times alone, more than half of his total 202 bites. Why mambas? They're just so dangerous, Tim explained. For me, mambas were my major goal. Half my bites alone, over 100 bites, are just from mambas. He also subjected himself to bites from Egyptian cobras, monocled cobras, coral snakes, and rattlesnakes. Each bite was excruciating. Each one carried the risk of death. But with every bite, his immune system learned. His body was producing antibodies, specific proteins designed to neutralize the venom. His family struggled to understand. His obsession with self-immunization created tension at home, and he separated from his wife in 2010. He moved his laboratory to a property in Fond du Lac, Wisconsin, where he literally slept in a tent surrounded by his snakes. To the outside world, Tim looked insane, but he was convinced his blood held something special, antibodies that could save lives. He started filming videos of himself being bitten, uploading them to YouTube and Facebook. The videos went viral. Some people called him crazy, others called him a hero. Tim just kept going, believing that someday someone would understand what he was doing. By 2016, Tim had been at it for 16 years. He was working in Oshkosh, Wisconsin, building military trucks, still maintaining his snake collection, still believing his work mattered, even though no scientist had shown serious interest. Then, one day, his phone rang. On the other end was Dr. Jacob Glanville, a computational immunologist and biotech researcher who had stumbled across a news article about Tim's YouTube videos. Glanville had been working on creating a universal flu vaccine and was exploring whether the same approach could work for snake venom. He needed someone with broad immunity to multiple snake species, someone whose immune system had been trained by years of exposure. I remember calling him and being like, "Look, I know this is awkward, but I would love to get my hands on a little bit of your blood," Glanville recalled. Tim's response? "Finally, I've been waiting for this call." Tim sent Glanville a 40-milliliter blood sample, and what Glanville's team found was extraordinary. Tim's blood was packed with broadly neutralizing antibodies, immune proteins that could recognize and block venom toxins from multiple different snake species. This was huge. Traditional antivenoms are made by injecting horses or sheep with venom and then harvesting their antibodies. But animal-based antivenoms have problems. They can trigger life-threatening allergic reactions in humans. They're expensive to produce, and you need a different antivenom for each type of snake. But human antibodies? They almost never cause allergic reactions. And if they could work against multiple snake species at once, they could save countless lives, especially in rural areas of Africa, Asia, and Latin America, where people can't always identify which snake bit them. For 8 years, Glanville and his team at Centivax, along with structural biologist Dr. Peter Kwong from Columbia University, worked to isolate and understand Tim's antibodies. They found immune cells in his blood that produced what they called ultra-broad antibodies, proteins that could bind to the exact spot on neurotoxins where they cause paralysis. In 2025, the team published their findings in Cell, one of the world's most prestigious scientific journals. The results were stunning. They tested Tim's antibodies on mice, giving them fatal doses of venom from 19 different species of snakes, including black mambas, king cobras, coral snakes, and taipans. The mice were protected against 13 species completely and partially protected against 6 more. They combined Tim's antibodies with a small molecule drug called verisplatib, creating a 3-component cocktail that worked across multiple continents worth of venomous snakes. This isn't just a laboratory curiosity. Every year, snake bites kill between 81,000 and 138,000 people worldwide, with hundreds of thousands more suffering permanent disability. In rural areas, people often can't access antivenom in time, or the right antivenom isn't available. Tim's blood could change that. The team is now working toward human clinical trials, and they're exploring partnerships with veterinary groups in Australia to treat dogs bitten by snakes. The genes that code for Tim's antibodies have been isolated, meaning they can now be mass-produced in laboratories without needing Tim's blood. When Tim heard that his antibodies had protected mice against 19 different snake species, he could barely believe it. "I couldn't believe it. I really couldn't believe it," he said. "I know I'm doing something for humanity and giving back to science." Today, Tim Friede is 57 years old and works for Centivax as their director of herpetology. He hasn't let a snake bite him since 2018, on doctor's orders from Glanville himself. His liver and kidneys are regularly monitored to ensure his decades of venom exposure haven't caused lasting damage. So far, he's healthy. He still keeps snakes, and he admits he sometimes misses the bites. Not for the pain, but for just knowing where you can take your mind. It's a glimpse into the psychology of someone who pushed human limits further than almost anyone thought possible. Tim is adamant that no one should try to follow in his footsteps. Tim did a once-in-history style thing, Glanville emphasizes. Because of the success of this project, there's no need for anyone to go and try to rerun that experiment. His family is proud now. His children look at what he's done and realize it's the coolest thing in the world. They understand he represents the people 8,000 miles away who die from snake bites every year. People who might now have a chance because one man was willing to endure 202 bites. Tim Friede's story is one of the most extreme examples of citizen science ever recorded. He turned his body into a living laboratory, risked his life hundreds of times, and in doing so, may have created the blueprint for a universal snakebite treatment that could save millions of lives. If you found this story as incredible as we did, hit that like button and share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe to our channel for more unbelievable true stories. And drop a comment below. Would you ever do what Tim did, even for science? Let us know. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Stay safe out there.